Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video, I'm going to be looking at Childe's best artifact sets. We're going to be comparing them to each other just to see how each different artifact set compares to one another. And just a reminder guys that you should always first prioritize artifact main stats and substats, then go for the set once you're satisfied. These comparisons are also done assuming that the substats are the exact same across all of the artifact sets, and my calculations are done using plus 20 artifacts on a level 80 Tartaglia Ascension Phase 5 with talent level 8 scaling and a level 90 Viridescent Hunt. And so before we jump into the calculations, let's just first take a look at why you would use each artifact set for Childe. The first one is the 4-piece Heart of Depth set, and the reason why you would use this is because it gives you a 15% Hydro damage bonus along with a 30% damage bonus to your normal and charge attacks after activating your elemental skill for 15 seconds. So that melee damage while he's in his E skill, it's really going to add up super quickly. This set also gives him a small 15% boost to his elemental burst even when you vaporize it. This boost is not as large compared to the Noblesse Oblige set, but it's still worth mentioning. The next set is the 2-piece Heart of Depth with the 2-piece Noblesse set, another very highly recommended set because of Childe's playstyle. A burst playstyle where you stay in his melee mode not for a very long time, and you usually main him just for his elemental burst, primarily his ranged elemental burst, and also with the aim to vaporize it. The next set is a 2-piece Heart of Depth with a 2-piece Gladiator. This set pretty much improves his entire kit with that extra 15% Hydro damage bonus along with an 18% attack bonus. But we don't get much else besides that, but it's a pretty good consistent set. And then the last set that I want to talk about is the 4-piece Thunder Soother set, where this set actually has potentially his highest potential damage. This is going to give his damage an extra 35% bonus to his charged bow attacks and even his physical damage. Although you probably aren't going to be using it that much, it's still going to get boosted. As long as you have a character that can constantly apply the electro element like Fischl or Beidou, then this set really does have high potential. For Fischl, it might be a little bit harder because you need to position Oz in the right spots, and she needs to be built for energy recharge to maintain 100% uptime on him. At C6, however, it'll be a lot easier to apply this electro element. Beidou is also going to be similar because you need her elemental burst to constantly apply the electro. And the reason why this has such good potential is because the electro-charged elemental reaction has a lingering electro effect on enemies. And so with all of that set, let's see how each set compares to one another. So let's first start with the 4-piece Heart of Depth set. According to the graph, this set actually seems to be the lowest damaging set, but this is because we are only counting 2 instances of Childe's main combos, the 3 normal attack into 1 charge attack combo, and the 2 normal attack into 1 charge attack combo. But obviously during a single rotation of your E skill, you will be doing this combo multiple times, and sometimes you might not even get the chance, so this graph does not capture that. It's only one single instance of the combo. We should be staying in our melee mode for about a max of 15 seconds because that's how long the buff lasts from the 4-piece Heart of Depth set. So with that 15 seconds, you should be able to do at least 4 to 5 combos before returning to your ranged stance. Now, how does each artifact set compare when it comes to his normal attack combo? We can take a look at this graph here, and it shows us that the 4-piece Heart of Depth is obviously going to have the highest combo damage, and then the 4-piece Thunder Soother and the 2-piece Heart of Depth with 2-piece Gladiator is actually not too far behind. And then obviously the 2-piece Heart of Depth with 2-piece Noblesse is the one that lags the furthest behind. In terms of actual percentage, the 4-piece Heart of Depth set is only doing about 6% difference damage between the Gladiator set and about 5% from the Thunder Soother set. Between the 4-piece Heart of Depth and the Noblesse set, we are dealing about 15% more damage. So that one is quite significant. Next up, let's take a look at the 2-piece Heart of Depth set with the 2-piece Noblesse set. We can see that the overall damage comparison for this set seems to be higher than the 4-piece Heart of Depth set, but this is because we are only taking into account the single damage instance from his elemental burst and the single damage instance from his normal and charge attack combos. The problem is that you won't always have your elemental burst available when you enter your melee stance, or basically just in general. Your normal and charge attacks will easily outdamage damage your burst because of how often you do it. It really does stack up fast. The damage difference between your elemental burst and one combo can be seen in this graph. There's about a 30% difference between your combos and the ranged burst, and a 45% difference between the melee version. So basically about 2 combos and you've already done the same damage as an elemental burst. Now if we look at vaporized elemental burst, it takes about 2.5 or 3 combos to reach the same damage. Next up is the gladiator set with 2-piece Heart of Depth. This set is very similar to the 4-piece Heart of Depth in that your normal and charge attacks are boosted, and you do this combo way more often and in higher succession than your elemental burst. This set also gives you a slight boost to his entire kit, since that 18% attack bonus is universal. So this is going to include all of your Riptide damage and your elemental burst damage, your physical damage, and your bow damage. So if we do a direct comparison to the 4-piece Heart of Depth set, your normal and charge attacks have a 15% damage difference in favor of the 4-piece Heart of Depth set. Your Riptide damage and your elemental burst have about a 9.1% difference in favor of the 2-piece Heart of Depth with 2-piece Gladiator set. And so in the graph you can see that the Gladiator set seems to slightly outperform the 4-piece Heart of Depth set, but that 15% damage difference in your normal and charge attacks is going to surpass the damage of the Gladiator set just because it's your main bread and butter combo. So in reality, the 4-piece Heart of Depth set is most likely going to outperform the Gladiator set, but they are still very, very close in terms of damage. The last artifact set that we should talk about is the Thunder Soother set. This set is very interesting because it's got the highest bar out of all of the artifact sets. If we can somehow keep Electro applied to our enemies, that 35% damage bonus is going to be active all of the time. This set, however, will not get a damage boost from the ranged Vaporize. The only thing that this set doesn't boost is his vaporized elemental burst damage, because you cannot have Hydro, Pyro, and Electro applied onto an enemy at once. So if we consider that, then the overall damage of this set actually goes down quite a bit compared to the other sets. So if you don't plan to vaporize, this artifact set actually has tons and tons of potential. Okay, now let's deep dive into another graph that tells us how each artifact set performs when it comes to each part of Childe's kit. Let's first take a look at his basic combos. The 4-piece Heart of Depth set beats out every artifact set. In terms of actual percentage, compared to the Gladiator and Thunder Soother set, there is a 5% damage difference between each combo. Since your basic combos are so integral to main DPS Childe's damage, this is where most of your damage is going to be coming from. The speed and amount of combos you do really do stack up, and it begins to outperform many of the other sets. When we take a look at Riptide Slash damage and Riptide Burst damage, the 4-piece Heart of Depth set loses to the Thunder Soother and the Gladiator set, and ties with the Noblesse Oblige set. Riptide Slash and Burst are important when it comes to fighting multiple enemies because of its AoE damage. The AoE damage is absolutely killer if you have a ton of enemies near each other and they all proc at once. That seriously does stack up. And so in terms of actual percentage, the damage difference is about 10% in favor of the Gladiator and the Thunder Soother sets. And now lastly, when it comes to your elemental bursts, the Thunder Soother and the Noblesse set perform exactly the same when we don't vaporize, and the Gladiator set is just very slightly behind it, and by slight I mean about 1.2%. It's very hardly noticeable. The 4-piece Heart of Depth set, however, seems to be quite lacking in elemental burst damage. There's a 10% difference there. But again, we have to remember the speed and frequency in which we unleash your elemental bursts, so that's something to keep in mind as a main DPS Childe. So the conclusion is that you should choose your artifact set depending on how you plan to play Childe, either as a main DPS or as a burst support DPS. At the end of the day, for a main DPS Childe, you can go with the 4-piece Heart of Depth set or a 2-piece Heart of Depth with Gladiator set because their damage is so very similar. You should make your decision based off of your substats and your main stats, since that will ultimately decide which set will be better for your Childe. Even though technically the 4-piece Heart of Depth set would be better in most situations if you don't have good substats on 4 of those pieces, but you do have them on a Gladiator set, then you're better off running that Gladiator set instead of pulling your hair out from artifact farming for a minor increase in damage. The potential damage from the Thunder Soother set was very interesting, but after looking at all of of the math and the charts, that potential isn't worth the possible inconsistency of applying Electro to all of your enemies. This, however, doesn't mean that you shouldn't run Childe in an Electro team comp. It just means that if you do, you aren't forced into using Thunder Soother to get the most damage, which is a good thing. And then if you decide to play Childe as a burst support DPS, then you want to make sure that you definitely vaporize his elemental bursts. Alright guys, if you made it this far, I thank you so much for watching. So these are the artifact sets that I could think of that would be good for Childe. If there are any that I might be missing, please let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys learned something, and hopefully it helped you guys decide which artifact set you want to run on Childe. If it did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and maybe even subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I will see you guys later.